and the drama over the Signal group chat. Now, a group of Trump's top security officials, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor, and J.D. Vance, our vice president, and others were on a group text chain that I think involved 19 people in total.
I want to go back to what I addressed at the outset. I mean, this was not only sloppy, it not only violated all procedures, but if this information had gotten out, American lives could have been lost. The Houthis had this information and could reposition their defensive systems. So I want to get a little more information about this. Director Gabbard, did you participate in the group chat with Secretary of Defense and other Trump senior officials discussing the Yemen war plans?
Senator, I don't want to get into the specifics.
Ma'am, were you on? You're not going to be willing to address. So you're not. Are you denying? Matt, will you answer my question, ma'am? You were not TG on this group chat.
I'm not going to get into the specifics.
So you refuse to acknowledge whether you were on this group chat,
Senator. I'm not going to get into the specifics.
Why are you going to get into the specifics? Is it because it's all classified?
Because this is currently under review by the National Security
Because
Council.
it's all classified. If it's not classified, share the text now.
As the White House previously
Is it classified or non-classified information on this text?
I can confirm.
Picture this. A top-secret group chat buzzing with Trump's inner circle. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth, Vice President J.D. Vance, and National Security Advisor Mike Waltz, plotting strikes in Yemen on Signal, the encrypted app trusted by spies. Now imagine their shock when they realize the Atlantic's Jeffrey Goldberg, a fierce Trump critic, is silently lurking in the thread. Was it a colossal blunder or something more sinister? Welcome to Signalgate, the accidental drama that's got Washington reeling and everyone asking, how did this even happen? Let's dive into the intrigue behind Signalgate, the accidental group chat drama that's dominating headlines. If you haven't heard about it yet, buckle up, because this one's wild. It's a story involving top Trump security officials, an encrypted messaging app, and of all unexpected players, the Atlantic's editor-in-chief, Jeffrey Goldberg. Now, just hearing all those details together is enough to make you go, wait, what? And trust me, that was everyone's exact reaction when this bizarre mishap hit the public eye. So, let me break it down for you. Here's what we know so far. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor, J.D. Vance, the Vice President, and several other senior national security officials, about 19 people in total, were messaging on Signal, a secure app used for sensitive communications, and somewhere along the line, someone accidentally added Jeffrey Goldberg to the chain. Yes, the Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic, the journalist who's infamous for bitterly opposing Donald Trump and generally antagonizing Republicans. So, let me break it down for you. Here's what we know so far. Pete Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, Mike Waltz, National Security Advisor, J.D. Vance, the Vice President, and several other senior national security officials, about 19 people in total, were messaging on Signal, a secure app used for sensitive communications, and somewhere along the line, someone accidentally added Jeffrey Goldberg to the chain. Yes, the Jeffrey Goldberg of The Atlantic, the journalist who's infamous for bitterly opposing Donald Trump and generally antagonizing Republicans. Now, Goldberg is the last person anyone in national security would intentionally loop into such conversations. This guy has made headlines for his controversial reporting, not the least of which includes calling General Mark Milley a patriot for allegedly promising Chinese officials he'd inform them of U.S. battle plans, a promise that's been heavily criticized as treasonous. So why and how Goldberg was ever added to this group text is still a raging mystery. Most signs point to Mike Waltz as the culprit, though this hasn't been officially confirmed. And frankly, while some folks online are speculating about intentional motives, the overwhelming likelihood is simple human error. Think about it. We've all accidentally CC'd or texted the wrong person at some point. It's like autocorrect goes rogue, or your contacts just scroll too far. In Walz's position, as someone entrenched in politics and national security for decades, it's entirely plausible that Goldberg's contact just happened to be in his phone. But boy, was this a catastrophic misclick. The messaging thread in question revolved around U.S. plans for retaliatory strikes against Houthi leadership in Yemen. Operations that were successful, by the way. Fortunately, the chatter contained no classified information. However, just the optics of that thread making its way into Jeffrey Goldberg's hands triggered panic. Was this breach a risk to national security? Was Goldberg about to leak sensitive information, turning this slip into a political crisis? To everyone's relief, Goldberg didn't go full spy mode or pen some expose immediately, though admittedly, that would have been the journalist's jackpot. Imagine being accidentally dropped into the inner circle of the White House, a group that includes decision-makers like the Vice President and Secretary of Defense. If you were Goldberg, wouldn't you sit tight, listen quietly, and soak up as much unfiltered intel as possible? Heck, you could bankroll a book on World War III plans. But surprisingly, Goldberg brought attention to his accidental addition. Whether out of ethical obligation or uncontainable amusement, he went public, blowing his cover and effectively ending what could have been a goldmine of surveillance. That move has everyone asking one key question. Why would Goldberg squander his once-in-a-lifetime inside track into the administration's communications? Either way, his lack of espionage instincts is the smallest silver lining in this entire mess. Now, back to the political fallout. This incident has elicited the classic divide between political camps. Some are blaming Mike Waltz as a secret neocon with shady motives. Others argue it was simply a chaotic mistake, something anyone could stumble into, especially when juggling 19 contacts in an encrypted chat thread. What's clear is that Democrats saw an opening to capitalize on the blunder. With their party currently facing its worst approval ratings in 50 years, they needed a distraction, and boy did this signal snafu deliver. Cue congressional hearings and panels. Democrats made sure that this situation dominated today's Senate Intelligence Committee meeting. Virginia Senator Mark Warner, leading the charge, grilled CIA Director Ratcliffe about the signal messaging details. Of course, drama ensued. To paraphrase, Warner pushed Ratcliffe on whether Goldberg was deliberately added as part of some secret agenda or whether, as literally everyone else suspects, it was just an embarrassing mistake. Ratcliffe stood his ground, reiterating that no classified material was shared and that Signal is a trusted communication tool, even by the CIA. When Warner asked the million-dollar question, did Jeffrey Goldberg hack or hoax himself into this thread, Ratcliffe calmly confirmed that, no, someone added him, albeit clearly by accident. Let's pause for some comic relief. Walter Kern, journalist and co-host of the America This Week podcast, summed this whole saga up beautifully. If he were Goldberg, the last thing he'd be doing is outing himself. To Kern, the smart move would have been to lay low and gather intel. His words, I would have waited for the World War III plans, not the bombing of the Houthis. Honestly, couldn't agree more. Group chat gate could have been espionage gold, but Goldberg decided to laugh it off and move on. Another chuckle-worthy observation, watching these Senate hearings unfold, you can't help but marvel at the irony. Here's Senator Warner lambasting Signal's secure messaging for an accidental breach, while his own Senate Select Committee on Intelligence previously dealt with a massive leak that actually involved classified information. Back in 2017, James Wolfe, the committee's head of security, was indicted for leaking the Carter Page FISA warrant. That scandal caused ripples through Congress and the press. Yet somehow, Warner wants to treat the Signal mishap as if it's on par with that crisis. Spoiler alert, it isn't. But let's not pretend it's all fine and dandy either. The Trump administration made a mistake, and they'll need to address the gaping holes in their communications protocols. The logical approach would be to say, oops, we messed up. It was human error, but as a precaution, we're implementing stricter controls to ensure this doesn't happen again. No need for theatrical outrage, just some honest acknowledgement, paired with corrections and safeguards moving forward. Lastly, this entire ordeal, for better or worse, has become free publicity for Signal itself. You've got political figures casually confirming that the CIA uses it for messaging, which is practically an endorsement. Signal can now proudly boast that its services hold up under national security scrutiny. That is, until someone fumbles the participants list and adds a rogue journalist. But hey, nobody's perfect. So where do we go from here? Well, Goldberg, ever the journalist, will surely release his take eventually. Group chat gate might just be his next big headline. And for Trump's team, they'll ride out this hiccup and ideally regroup with better tech protocols. It's the kind of story that's embarrassing but ultimately recoverable. In conclusion, was this a catastrophic breach of national security? Not really. Was it a bizarre, slightly humorous blunder that shows humans, even in high-stakes jobs, can make rookie errors? Absolutely. So let's fix signal etiquette, learn from our mistakes, and leave Signalgate behind. Let me know your thoughts on this crazy development. Was Goldberg truly added by error, or do you suspect something deeper? Either way, keep Signal tight, folks. Thanks for tuning in. Subscribe for more analysis, drama, and the stories shaping our world.